Welcome back to Eat, Sleep, Box and Repeat's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined by Owen and Elliot for another big fight breakdown. This time we are looking forward to the heavyweight clash rematch. Not Usyk Joshua 2. We are talking about Derek Chisora versus Kubrat Pulev 2. For those that don't remember, the two of them had a fight in 2016. Went Pulev's way. It was a close fight, and they're fighting again at the O2 in London on in July the 9th. Gents, thank you very much for joining me. How are both of you?
Good, thanks. Sorry, thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Excited to be here.
Good stuff. I concur on that. I'm delighted to be back for another video.
Yeah, good stuff, guys.
I love Derek Chisora.
Yeah, looking forward to getting some opinions thrown about. Just want to discuss the first fight. As mentioned, it was back in 2016. So it was a little while ago. It was in Hamburg in Germany. It was a split decision over 12 rounds that went Kubrat Pulev's way. I'll go to Elliot first. What are your memories of the first fight, mate? How would you sum that first fight up and how it went down in Hamburg?
I was quite surprised that it was that close on the cards, to be perfectly honest. I had Pulev winning it fairly unanimously. Well, unanimously essentially. Again, it was in Germany though. Again, it's one of those things where you're like, I don't know, he would have had to have produced quite a performance, I think, to win over there. But I mean, equally at the time, what was it for? Like, it was the European title as well, wasn't it? So it was like, I suppose, a cash in, and obviously looking at going from there into a world title shot, and he's have to rebuild obviously after that. So I was disappointed for Derek, but that wasn't one of those decisions where I'm sitting there going, oh, it was a weight decision in Germany. I thought he lost. I thought it was a fairly handsome unanimous decision with Pulev. Nice
one. Just good stuff, and interesting to see if Pulev can make it 2-0 on July the 9th. Owen, going to go into choose on, mate. What were your thoughts on that first fight?
Yeah, I agree. I was a bit shocked at the split decision in favor of Pulev. In Germany, we're used to the shock scorecards where, you know, you likes of your Klitschko's, Alf Abrahams, where they get the results. But the split decision in favor of Pulev, when I thought he controlled the fight, was a bit of a shock to myself. I didn't think Chisora brought a lot to the first fight, and I thought it was relatively easy night's work for Pulev. And I would have, at the 12th bell, I sort of thought unanimous, like you say, probably 6 or 7 rounds. I mean, I'd have to watch it back to get the actual rounds, but around that mark. So it'd be interesting to see how it fares this time around, especially not being in Hamburg as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing we know about Chisora is that certain times of his career he hasn't really shown up. I mean, there was that fight he had in Monte Carlo a few years ago. I think it was against a guy called Ajet Kabayel, and just didn't really show up that night. And then we've seen other fights where he might not have won the fight, but he's really given a good account of himself. One thing I'm keen to discuss with you guys here is, does the loser retire? Is that it for the loser? Derek Chisora is 38 years old. Pulev's 41. They've both been around a long time. Both had plenty of fights. Quite different records in the sense that Pulev's only lost a couple, whereas Chisora's lost quite a few, as we know. But yeah, that's the question really. Does the loser retire? Owen, I'll go to you for this one first.
I think it depends on who loses, personally. I think if Pulev loses, he retires. I think if Chisora, if Chisora loses, he doesn't retire. Win, lose, draw. I think we see Derek Chisora again. But if Pulev loses, I think that's the end of the road for him. I think it's a different situation we know, like you say, Chisora's had losses and he's had some big losses, but they never seem to get him down. He just seems to just love fighting in terms of he doesn't care whether he wins, as long as he's getting paid and as long as he gets to punch someone, he's happy. So I don't think Chisora is going away regardless of the result. Whereas I think Pulev, if you're in his team as well, if he loses to a 38-year-old Derek Chisora, I think that's the end of the road for him. I might be a bit harsh saying that, but I do think if Pulev loses, it's lights out on his career.
Good stuff. Bruce, opinions there. Elliot, do you agree with Owen?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with Owen. It's a shame in some ways for the controversy of this video that Owen talks too much sense really for me to get any sort of argument worked up against him. But no, I completely agree. I think looking at the styles of the two fighters as well, like Pulev, I mean, is obviously seems to be a bit more cagey, a bit more negative, not as fan friendly on the eye. So I think if he loses 100%, I don't see there's any sort of clamour for him to fight again. Chisora, again, I think we'll see him again just because I just think, I don't know, I almost feel like he's going to have to be sort of carried away. I'm not going to say, I can almost see like him giving it to Danny Williams and just fighting anyone at any time, anywhere until he's about 70. But if you look, for example, there will be, I almost see Chisora now as occupying that kind of gatekeeper role. Like you mentioned, that Caballero fight was obviously like, that was disappointing. But then if you look at like, I mean, I know Channel 5 stuck up those contentious heavyweight British ranking the other day. But if you look at like, I mean, Chisora was what, fifth out of those. And you look at it and you go like, okay, take away obviously Joshua, take away Fury, take away Wyatt. I don't necessarily want to see that again. But like even like someone like Chisora Joyce, Chisora, like any of those guys beneath him, I'd still Joyce is a close fight, to be honest with you, I think. But I'd back him against any of the guys beneath that, like, you know, the Wardleys, Gormans, Adelays, all those guys. I think Chisora would just run him over like he did to Price. So I still think there's an appetite to see it. And I still think he's got probably a bit more than Pulev.
Good stuff. And I also want to kind of discuss with you guys what happens to the winner here, because I don't think, look, the winner's not going to fight, you know, Tyson Fury or Usyk or Joshua in their next fight. But yeah, the winner can possibly fight a top 10 heavyweight. And I know it depends who wins, and we'll get into predictions a bit later. But if, without telling us your prediction, who do you think that guy, who would you like to see that guy fight next? I think I'm trying to think of some good ideas. We don't know what Joseph Parker is doing now. The fight with Joe Joyce is off. Joe Joyce is fighting in a couple of weeks time. But we don't know who he's kind of, that's just kind of a keep busy fight. We don't know who's fighting later in the year. Hughie Fury, Michael Hunter is being rescheduled. Give me a couple of names up there for the guy who you want to see the winner fight. Elliot, I'll go back to you.
Okay, yeah, not I suppose not wishing to give away who I think is going to win, but I think just naming me some names, like say for example Chisora were to win, like someone like Chisora Bacoli be absolutely quality. I'd love to watch that. It's been absolutely violent. I'd like to see Andrew Ruiz in. I mean, he's quite inactive, isn't he, at the moment? So I'd like to see him in with either of them, to be honest. Quite like Andrew Ruiz. I think like against either of those guys, like fast hands, if he's motivated, see what can happen. Got no interest in seeing like Ortiz or those guys really fight again. Wilder would crucify both of them. I think Otto Wallin is quite interesting. Maybe throw Otto Wallin in against either of those guys. I think, to be honest, he'd probably have too much for either of them, just on age. And if he shows up as he can show up, I think he'd probably beat them. I mean, you can look at like people like even like Hrgovic or like Hunter. Would I want to see? And Hunter's intriguing one. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight with them. But to be honest with you, like the fight I'd love to see would be Chisora Bacoli.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's going to win, but I just think that'd be a great fight.
No, it'd be a good. Would definitely be a good fight. Owen, what are your thoughts? What do you want to see?
Some of the names Elliot mentioned, but I think the one I'll touch on the most is I'd want to see Hrgovic in with either of them. I think he's only had, I think it's 14 or 15 fights Hrgovic has had. He's talked about as a big prospect. He hasn't had that breakthrough coming out fight yet. And I think even though they're like Pulev's in his 40s, Chisora's approaching his 40s, it's still a decent name to have on his CV whilst you're relatively young in your pro career. And I want to see the young boys like I know Joyce isn't young in his age, but in terms of his fighting career, he's young. So I want to see the Hunters, Hrgovic's, Joyce's. I want to see a steam train like Chisora run at them and see how they deal with it, or see how they deal with Pulev sort of leaning on them as well. Just that experience, been in with the best, know how to deal with it, and how will a young fighter, if they bomb them out, then it's like, right, step them up immediately sort of thing. But if they struggle, then it's right, we need to go back to the drawing board here. I think there's more options for Chisora and Pulev, purely because Chisora just brings entertainment, press conferences, fight days, even after the fight, post press conferences, open workouts. There's just so much Derek Chisora than the actual fight itself. Whereas Pulev doesn't bring as much entertainment to the table. So I think it's more of a win-win situation for Chisora, whereas it's a massive risk for Pulev, I think, taking this fight back on. But in that aspect, I think Hrgovic is the one for me that I want to see him with the winner.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Filip Hrgovic, but I think he's one of the most avoided fighters in world boxing. I'm going to put it out there, but I do think Chisora Pulev would fight him. So I think that's a good shout. Love the Bicoli shout as well. Personally, I would love just to have some like unofficial tournament, because it feels like with Fury fighting Joseph Parker, I think isn't Luis Ortiz and Andy Ruiz supposed to be fighting August, September time. I'd love it if the winner of this fight maybe fought the winner of one of those fights. I know it could be difficult to make and it might not happen, but yeah, I think I would love to see that happen. But I think one thing's for sure is that the winner of this fight, if they don't choose to retire, will want the biggest fight with the biggest money possible. So I think what we've mentioned is definitely a possibility. Also, a couple of things left, guys, but also wanted to talk about Derek Chisora's appeal in the UK. He's kind of gone from being seen as kind of a bit of a villain. Remember the incident with David Hay and the tripod all those years ago, to a very popular fighter who's kind of got a great fan base. He's fought in London mostly the last few years, and despite kind of so many losses, his appeal kind of continues. However, lost 3 fights in a row, albeit to good fighters. His fights at the O2, he's obviously the main event. One, how full do you think the O2 is going to be? And 2, do you think his appeal has gone down slightly due to the losses and due to how long he's been around for? Owen, what's your opinion on this?
I still think he's got huge appeal in the UK purely because he epitomizes anytime, any place, anywhere. You know, he's had three big defeats where a lot of fighters probably would call it quits, especially at the age. They'd probably say, right, that's it. I've had my time. It's time to move on to something else. Whereas Chisora seems to get beat and just decide, let's go again. So I think purely because of that, and as I previously mentioned, the entertainment factor with the press conferences, the jokey side of it, the camaraderie, we'll call it. Chisora just brings entertainment to what UK fight fans love. I don't think it will be sold out, but I don't put that down to Derek Chisora. I put that down to undercards, because at the moment, personally, to me, it feels as if, I don't know whether it's overspending on the main event, but undercards have been getting weaker and weaker. And the hardcore fans will want to see the strong undercards, your British title fights, international fights, European bouts, and we're not getting that enough. So I think the hardcore fans straying away. And although the appeal he has, Derek Chisora doesn't have the Anthony Joshua casual appeal, so it won't be sold out. But I do think the appeal is still there because, like I say, I truly believe if he loses this fight, he'll just go again and again and again until, I think, like you say, the Danny Williams style effect, where it's like, right, Derek, let's call it a day now. You're taking it too far, sort of thing. But I do think the appeal will last for a good few years whilst he remains competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in this country, people love an underdog as well. People love characters. There's not enough characters in boxing or in sport really at the moment, I would say. Elliot, same question. Same question to you now.
I think he'll still sell out quite a portion of the O2, to be perfectly honest, just because people love heavyweights, and like Owen was alluding to there, like Chisora will bring entertainment beforehand, probably during the fight and probably afterwards as well. So I think at least, and there's also this kind of myth around a couple of his, I suppose, his recent losses. He lost to Joseph Parker and used to Usyk, and a lot of people were saying that he did a lot better than Usyk than he actually did, really. So you're looking at those 2 defeats and people going, well, to be honest with you, like the age he is, career he's had, commendable losses, crack on. Before that, he absolutely, what's it, Paul Kelly's words, banjo price around for a bit. And then that was it, Artis Brazilka, when that knockout was genuinely, I was like, fuck. I said, text a mate like, I'm going, fuck, he's killed him. I literally was like, he's literally decapitated someone. So you look before that, you go, he's still got a lot in the tank there. And I think as well, like, I'm going to go, he's got a massive British appeal, I think. And I'm actually going to come out on a limb here and say that since probably Lennox Lewis, which I caught the tail end of his career, hashtag old. But then, like, from British fighter wise, I'd say Chisora's top 3, my favorite British fighter since that time. If you look at like obviously you've got like Fury, Fury that is, no, Tyson Fury that is. But you people like, I suppose you go through like your Hayes, your Hattons, like they've also got that kind of, I mean, with Hatton, obviously what happened with Pacquiao and the Billy Graham thing, that kind of diminished him a bit. Hay, when he started talking about his foot, that kind of took it away from him. But you look at people like Calzaghe, Tyson Fury, and then like Chisora, just game. Never really has any excuses. Just turns up to game all the time. And if he gets flattened and he goes again. They're never sitting there like, and the entertainment outside the ring, tossing table, even getting dug out by Hay at the press conference, stuff like that, spitting water, slapping people. At the end of the day, like, you like to see it because it doesn't seem artificial, I think, to be honest with you. And I love, the other Union Jack, fucking, like across the face. Just, I think he's great entertainment, to be honest with you. And I do think he's still got a lot to offer, just solely because I say like you can operate in that kind of like gatekeeper level, for against British fighters, even kind of like fringe like top 10 contenders, all that sort of stuff as well. Eddie Hearn will probably sticking in with anyone, mate. So so I think he's got big appeal.
Absolutely, and I think that one of the reasons why he has the record he has done is because he's willing to fight anyone. It's very easy to diminish his record and diminish him as a fighter, but actually, if you look at the names he's fought, like Fury twice, David Haye, Vitaly Klitschko, kind of could go on. Alexander Usyk. So I mean, he's got quite the resume. Whereas you can find so many fighters with better records, i.e., Joseph Parker, who don't have the names on their records like Derek Chisora does. So yeah, love that attitude. And also, I think the point I want to make is that it's not like Chisora's just been like battered from pillar to post in his entire career. Yeah. Arguably won the first fight against Parker, arguably won the first fight against Dillian Whyte. He lost to Usyk, but I thought that he did give Usyk some trouble. He did trouble him and definitely won some rounds, which isn't easy to do against Usyk. So yeah, I credit to him, man. I admire his longevity. Cool. Final question, final thing to discuss. Going to ask for predictions from both of you. I want to know who's going to win and how as well. What do you see happening? What's the most likely outcome? Owen, going to come to you first. So what is going to happen on July the 9th?
I'm going to go out on my sword here. I'm going Chisora points. I think Pulev's last fight, it was against Jerry Forrest, whose claim to fame is 2 draws against Zhang and Michael Hunter. And Michael Hunter one was a disgraceful decision. So I think Pulev's best days are behind him. Whereas, like you say, with Chisora, you can never know what Chisora is going to turn up, but you can never count him out purely for that reason. And I think Chisora going into this, he's going to have revenge on his mind, especially after it was a split decision. Whether you were dominated or not, no fighter would like losing on a split decision. It's a horrible way to lose. I mean, obviously never been in that situation, but even watching it, it's horrible to watch. So I think he's definitely going to have vengeance on his mind. And I think with that advantage, and obviously after Pulev's last fight, I do think Chisora beats him on points. And like I say, I'll definitely go out on my sword on that and argue with anyone that Chisora beats him this time around. Yeah.
Interested. Looking forward to seeing a range of other people's opinions. Saying that, going to go to Elliot and see if he agrees or disagrees with you.
When Owen said initially Chisora points, I was about to make him die on that sword, but then the more he talked about it, I thought he's actually probably right. I was sitting there and you're looking at it like, I was looking at him, you look at like when Pulev fought Joshua, I thought Pulev was finished, frankly. I thought Joshua was quite cagey in that fight, coming off of the Andrew Ruiz win as well. I thought, to be honest, we could have got Pulev out there earlier. Seemed quite a negative performance, like cautious performance from him. So I think even getting KO'd in the 9th kind of flatters Pulev in that fight. And then that was in 2020. So I think Chisora's going to win this, yeah. And it's just a question of, if he keeps pushing it, does he get him out of there? I can kind of maybe see a mid-late stoppage, but I probably do agree with Owen. I think Pulev will just survive somehow to the end, and it'll be a points victory for Chisora. But yeah, I think Chisora points.
Yeah, I like to give my prediction on these videos as well. And I think Chisora I do think I don't think anyone's going to knock anyone out in this fight. If you look at Pulev, he's not actually a massive puncher as a heavyweight. If you look at his KO record, so I don't think he's not going to stop Derek Chisora, in my opinion. Just one thing that's kind of in my head is that I don't think Chisora looked great against Parker in the rematch last time out, and that I can't get that thought out of my head. So it's about whether that's just him, he's just kind of in decline now, or if that was just an off night, or if Parker was just too good. That's why I'm not sure. But if I had to give a prediction, I'd agree with both of you and say Chisora on points, but I think it could be fairly close. I don't think it would be a wide point decision.
Let me just say, do you think that both of you, I'll open this question up to as well, do you think it will be, actually alluding to the fact they're both maybe in decline, do you think it'll be a good fight, or do you think it'll be quite a sad watch in some ways, or do you think it will still be great entertainment? And I'll go to you, Stotty, first, because you're smirking, and I'm not going to let you.
That's the thing, man. I don't. It's not a very good way of promoting the fight, saying it could just be quite sad, and to see the kind of 38 and 41-year-olds kind of who have both had better days go for it. I'm going to say I think it will be a good fight, because I think both fighters will be desperate to win. Both fighters know that they're coming towards the end of their careers now. Derek Chisora, he's in recent years, he's been in mostly entertaining fights as well. So there is the possibility that it could be a bit sad. It could be the last fight for both fighters. You never know. But no, I think it will be entertaining. I think Chisora. Another thing about Chisora is that he's the sort of fighter who needs to be in front of fans. The first Parker fight and the Usyk fight were both behind closed doors. And I do think him being back in London as well, the Parker fight was in Manchester, him being back in London, he'll be desperate to kind of please those people chanting his name.
Yeah, I agree with the home advantage aspect of it. I think in the O2, he knows everyone that's attending realistically is going to see Derek Chisora. And I think it's difficult with Chisora. I'm in two minds of whether he's just going to run at Pulev and see, like, after his last performances, even against like Joshua, it's a very cagey fight. They stood off each other. So I'm thinking, is it going to be the Chisora where he just, like Dylan White fight, where he just goes, let's drop our guards, chins high, and let's go for it. But then the style of fighter Pulev is, I'm thinking, Chisora's team going to say you can't do that, because he won't allow you to do that sort of thing. He won't get involved. He'll just try and move. So I'm torn over that, but I do think, like you say, in the O2, the Lion's Den, as Joshua used to call it, with Chisora in there, I think Chisora will force the entertainment if needs be. And I think Chisora will put the pressure on him from the first bell, and that will create the entertainment. I'm hoping that he does force Pulev to be a bit uncomfortable, come off his game plan a bit, and we see a bit of a ding dong. But yeah, I do think it'll be entertaining. I don't think they are both getting old, but I think the style of fighter Chisora is, bar the Monte Carlo performance, I don't really think if he's in front of fans, he can't put a boring fight on. He owes it to the fans. But yeah, I'll go with it. It'll be entertaining, and it'll be a close decision. I agree with Elliot on that. It won't be wide unless we get a dodgy British scorecard, which could happen. But no, entertainment, Defo and Chisora, sort of 2 or 3 rounds.
Yeah, step in Terry O'Connor and Ian John Lewis. Anyway, on that.
No names mentioned.
No, not at all. All right, gents, really enjoyed that at all. I think it's a 50-50 fight. Looking forward to it. Derek Chisora versus Kubrat Pulev 2, July 9th at the O2 on the Zone. Thanks both of you for joining me. We'll speak to both of you soon.
Thank you guys. Thank you for watching.